Hey lads, we're on our way to the January Unity Open. This tournament's going to be an exciting one. I want to win every game and see if we can climb over 1200 today.
Hey lads, this was game one of the Unity January 2025 Open, and I played in the first game the black pieces. My opponent, his name was Arush. He was a 957 rated player. I was currently sitting at 1139. I was playing in the 1000 to 1400 section, and for this tournament you had 1 hour each plus 5 seconds every move. So I felt like we had more than enough time to play, and I was excited to play because I wanted to increase my rating. So let me just jump into all 4 of these games and show you. This game one was quite an exciting one. I had the black pieces, and we get right into a Caro-Kann where my opponent exchanged the pawns. This is called the exchange Caro-Kann. There are 3 types of Caro-Kann: the advance, the exchange, and one where they bring the knights out. Maybe this is the 2 knights, maybe this is the Tartacar, where they come down here, and maybe this is the main line where they go over here with the knight. Whole bunch of openings here, but we got the exchange. And generally the exchange, you develop your knights, and if they develop their knight here to defend this pawn, we can develop our bishop. And he castled. I played the pawn up to secure the pawn chain. Typical general's starting moves. They brought their queen out, and that was quite surprising to me. You never want to bring your queen out, because now I'm thinking I can tempo, and maybe things are better for me because I'm forcing the enemy queen to move twice. Didn't do that. I brought my knight out and I thought, this pawn is weak, let's attack it. So I'm going to prepare my knight here and go after this pawn. They brought their bishop out. I swung through with my plan, continuing this. Now here, I didn't have to go here and attack the pawn. Could have actually brought the queen out and attacked this pawn and posed a double threat attacking the b2 pawn. Could have done that. I'm just always very hesitant to move my queen in the opening. They defend their pawn. I develop my bishop to d6. They throw their knight into the center. And now I start having to have a wee think, because there are pieces that can come off. And so I'm thinking, can I capture with a knight? If I capture with the knight, they capture with the pawn, attacking my bishop. Not so good. If I capture with a knight, they could take with their bishop, and I could recapture their bishop, and then they take here. But then maybe they can play this and secure the pawn here in the center. Not so good. I could just ignore it and defend my bishop that is hanging. Not really sure. I could go h5 and defend this. I could take his bishop and force him to trade here, and then take this one, take here, take here, take here. Wasn't really sure, but ultimately I went with this move. And I do think at the end of the day, most of those moves are all fairly even. But I took his knight, he took his knight, and I was very surprised to see him take with the pawn. I thought he would take with bishop, and then I was going to deal with this threat here. Hoping to maybe bring his pawn here to the center, and then maybe push through the center with my pawn and get my queen involved into the game a bit more. He took with a pawn, so I tempoed his queen. I have to deal with this threat first. So this one he has to deal with. He can't take this bishop for free. He's got to deal with the threat here. So he deals with that threat by recapturing, and then I just move my bishop out of the way. I thought about coming up to c5, but I didn't like the look of b4, because b4 was going to force my bishop to move again. I didn't want to have to keep moving the same piece. So I brought it back to here, thinking maybe we can hold this diagonal, and then maybe I can swing my queen over here and start targeting this pawn. Maybe even play f6 at some point. I wasn't entirely sure, but the game's very even here. They developed their knight. I castle. They developed their queen, and now things are starting to look a little hairy. They're attacking g7. Not sure if this threat here of bishop to h6 is something I have to worry about, because if he did put his bishop here on h6, then maybe he's threatening checkmate with his queen, and I wouldn't be able to capture on h6 because the pawn is pinned to the king. The pawn wouldn't be able to move. But I do have this knight here on f5 defending this square on h6, so I wasn't too worried, but I thought maybe he's going to bring his knight around and go after my knight, force it to move or capture it or something, and then play the bishop here and start coming after this rook. So it made me all a wee bit nervous, but not too bad. I instead just move my knight over to h5. Now here, if they play h6, you're like, oh, isn't that a blunder? Because they can then go here with checkmate. You're going to have to move the pawn, and then they're going to take the rook. Well, no, because I actually have this square with my knight. So if they come to h6, I can put the knight on g6 and just sit there blocking the queen. So that's what I was planning. They bring their rook over. I pull my knight back to g6, just deciding to do that immediately. They pull their other rook into the game. I capture their bishop because I'm like, I'm just fed up with this. I don't want to have to deal with threats. They capture me back. I pull my queen out, attacking this pawn. They defend the pawn by blocking with the knight. I play f6, targeting this pawn. They move their queen out of the way, and I guess they're still holding the pawn, but they're also looking at this now. So my alarms are starting to tick a wee bit. I push the a pawn, a5. And basically my plan here is to go a5, a4, and then the knight's going to have to move, or we can capture this pawn on b2. I couldn't really come up with much else. They move their knight over, and instead of immediately taking the pawn, I thought it's better for me to just come here first and look at this square. Things are looking very nice there. I could have probably gone here. It's in this position, I was really tempted to take this pawn, and I thought about it for a while, but I saw that if I do take it, they capture this pawn and they hit my rook, and they also threaten checkmate. And I realized that would be terrible if I took this pawn. So instead, I just moved my bishop to c5, and the bishop and the queen are both here, and I'm still defending this pawn with my queen. So here they move their king out of the danger of this pin, I guess, this whole diagonal. And so I capture the knight because the knight is looking at this square, and I want to be able to move my queen. They capture me back with the rook, and so I capture the pawn. Now I'm up a pawn. Here, I didn't realize that my opponent actually has some good tactics. They can actually, instead of playing the pawn up here, which was the mistake that they made, they could have brought their rook over here, looking at this, and then I'm going to try to defend it, and they can take here, and then their queen comes in, and things are starting to get a bit ugly. So the game's completely even here, even though I'm up a pawn currently. But they didn't do that. They moved their pawn to f3. And it was right about this time on the clock, this was move 23, 24. They had gotten down to 10 minutes. So I actually have the score sheet right here with me, and I wrote down all the times of the moves. So they were on 10 minutes and I was on 42 minutes. So I had only used 18 minutes up until this point. They had used 50. And so my opponent was really starting to stress, and I thought I need to pressure with the time. That's the way I'm maybe going to win this. So I take the pawn quite quickly, quite promptly. It looked good. I didn't see any counterplay from him. He moves his rook over, but now it's a little too late. I pull my rook up, defend this so that he can't come in. They capture the pawn, and if I was to foolishly take with the rook here, they could come in here, and I can go this way or I can go this way. If I go h8, this is checkmate. And if I go to f8, they can put their rook on g8 and win the rook on the next turn. So it would be a complete blunder to take this. So I took it with the queen. They push their pawn, and now I'm feeling very confident. We've got two pawns in the center. These two pawns are doing a great job at sort of holding these three back. And we've got an extra pawn over here on this side. I was feeling pretty confident here. So I decide to put my rook behind one of the pawns. Usually it's best to put it behind the pass pawn and then just push this pawn to victory. That's what we need to do. They pull in, we push up. They pull back, we push up. They stop us. And so now we're like, how do we remove that rook? So I bring the queen in. They bring their queen over to defend their rook. And here I play h6. Now the reason I played h6, it might seem kind of silly, but the reason I did it was because I wanted to just give my king some air, just in case there was any chance of maybe a queen coming here and attacking me. Maybe let's say I move and then maybe they can somehow get into the position here and check me. I want to be able to have some room for my king. Now it might have been a silly move. I don't know, maybe a waste of time, but that's what I went for. They pull their rook over. I pull my rook over to e7 just to defend this pawn because it was under attack. They pull this rook up. And here I make the mistake of going rook c8. And here the position is still in my favor. I'm slightly winning. But I didn't realize that my opponent could have played the rook here. And the rook here attacks this pawn. This rook attacks the pawn. And even this queen can come here and attack the pawn. They have three attackers. And my rook can't get back over here to defend because they'll just take it. This rook can't get over to defend. They'll just take it. So this is a really bad mistake. The position's basically even. I mean, I'm up about 0.8 here, it says, but that's not fantastic. They pull their king up, giving me another chance to save myself. I push my queen up. They pull their queen back. And here, instead of coming back here or here to defend, probably not e to d7 because the rook here would grab this pawn, but probably rook d8. I don't do it. And again, they have the opportunity to come here and pressure this rook. But in this position, they pull back to e3. I pull over finally, and they run out of time. They were under a lot of pressure to do the right exact move, but I was feeling pretty confident here. I was thinking I could even just give up this pawn. I could get both the rooks here and just try to push and maybe take here at some point. I wasn't feeling too stressed about it. They couldn't take this pawn because like even if this rook was over here, like let's say it's here, and then they take this, I take, they take, then I take this one. So removing the defender of this rook. This game ended kind of in a funny way. I'd never won on time at an over the board game. And I guess it just does happen. My opponent got really low. They were thinking a lot. And we were able to just make all of our moves within 26 minutes. And we got 5 seconds of move. So there was 35 moves in the game. Don't ask me to do the maths. But yeah, first game, big win. And we were excited to go into game 2, where I got the white pieces. It's definitely interesting to see how different people play. And I think this young man, Arush, was quite a new player, but seemed like he was playing fairly solid as a very new player to over-the-board chess. He was probably in 5th or 6th grade, but yeah, he played very solid, I thought, and he just really got pressured by time. That was his big mistake. Chess.com gives Arush's play at a 76% and myself at a 78.3%. Let's jump into game 2. Game 2, I was playing against Melody, the young girl from the previous tournament. If you didn't see that video, check out last week's. And you'll see she beat me because I blundered a checkmate in 1. I was excited to play her again. And her rating was 1294 at the start of this tournament. So a wee bit higher than my own. I was 1139. There's about 1,600 points, or 160 points higher. 1,600 points. 160 points higher than my own. And so I was quite excited to play. She said to me right at the start of the game, I've been preparing against the Jabava London. And she knew I was a Jabava London player because we played before. And so I thought to myself right at the start of the game, maybe I need to play something other than the Jabava. So that's what I did. I played the uncommon move c4, which is the English opening. And the English you can often get a really solid position from. It's easy to get like a stable sort of position, and it's a very interesting game. Like there's gonna be a lot of stuff that happens, but yeah, I wanted to just avoid any theory that she had come up with. So I played c4. She played e5. I developed my knight into the center to control the light squares. She did the same, and I fianchettoed my bishop on g2. And on g2, it looks down this very nice light square diagonal. And often there are tactics where you can use the power of this bishop. It just is a very powerful piece. She developed her bishop to e7, getting ready to castle. I pushed my pawn to e3, just making room for my knight. I could come here or here, and she castled. And here I had to think. I was like, maybe I should bring the knight here to e2, but I actually decided on putting the knight on f3. And the reason I put it on f3 was because often I have seen in the past that, like, let's say they push this, then I could actually take this pawn. They can't capture me because I would win their rook. That kind of stuff happening. People just sort of slip up in the early stages of the game. I shouldn't play for tricks. I kind of felt like the knight wasn't as well placed here on f3 because it can be a harassed, you know, maybe this move, but probably something else. I don't know. But I know the knight's very well placed here because it controls d4, and you want to get a d4 push in at some point. So it makes more sense to put it on e2. She played d6. I castled. She brought her bishop out. I brought my queen up because I didn't want to be pinned here. I can't move my knight. And if I leave my queen here, then she could just maybe play this at some point and attack this, and I can't move it because she wins the queen. So I moved my queen. Just felt like it was a fairly safe move to do. She pulls her queen up to defend her bishop on g4. I pull my knight into the center of the board. And here I thought, if she captures, which is the only capture she can do here with the knight, I can capture back, hit this knight, and when this knight moves, maybe I can attack it again. Maybe not. Maybe I look at this square and try to like get my bishop here, my rook here, and go after this pawn because it's a backwards pawn. But yeah, I kind of felt good about this if she took, but she didn't decide to take. And actually it was her best move, but instead she played this move because maybe she was worried about me looking at this and swapping off the knight. I didn't really have plans for that yet because my pieces aren't really looking that way. My bishop's looking down this side of the board, so I'm kind of thinking I need to play on the queen side. So here I just sort of try to solidify my pawn chain here. A2, B3, C4. She moves her bishop, and again she should have taken here because after I retake, this attack isn't so good for me apparently. I play d4. She takes my bishop. I take her bishop. She takes my pawn. I take her pawn. She takes my knight here sitting on d4, and I take her bishop. Now I really had a long think, like, should I take this knight and allow her bishop to be here looking at this, and then this one can move and I get hit on a1. I wasn't entirely sure. So I thought better to take off her bishop. Bishops are more powerful in an endgame. And so she recaptured and I took her knight back. Taking either of these pieces was fine because it was a check move and I didn't have to respond to the threat on my queen here. She comes in to e4 and I just thought, okay, she just wants to trade off and get a draw. That's what she wants. She's pulled right into the center here, and the only move I have is to capture her queen, because if I don't capture her queen and I move my king or move my pawn, she's going to capture my queen on the next move, so I have to capture the queen. She takes back. I pull my rook over to e1, get it on the open file. She defends her knight. I push my bishop over to b2, looking on this long squared dark diagonal this time and defending this pawn here. And so she pulls back. And here, yeah, I probably should have pushed this pawn. It just felt very drawish. I thought if I do this, the game's going to end in a stale sort of bad position, not a stalemate, but like a very stale, boring position. So I thought I'll push this one and try to open up files here. Like if she captures here, then maybe the D file opens up and stuff can start to happen. She took, I took, she pulled her knight back to attack my pawn. I take her rook because I was thinking I could just defend here, but then she could take my rook, I take, and she actually wins a pawn. So I didn't want to have to fall into any of these sort of tricks. So I took her rook, she took my rook, and now I pulled over to protect this pawn. I got to protect it somehow. I suppose this move was slightly better because I could have pushed here, attacked the knight, and taken this pawn. And then these ones are doubled, so that could have been really good if I'd done that, but I didn't. And they bring their rook up to e2, attacking this one. So now I started to get a wee bit nervous. I thought, well, they're attacking my bishop, so I got to move the bishop or defend it. And I don't want to go passive back here because then they win a pawn. If I move the bishop, they take this pawn. So I was like, I'm in a bit of trouble here. So instead of defending my bishop, I did move it. And that allows them to take this pawn. But here I saw I can actually push, attack the knight, forcing the knight to jump or them to take. And when they took, I can recapture, and now I'm hitting this pawn. There's no way for them to defend it. And that's what I thought. I'll do this, and it worked out. So they pushed a5. I took the pawn, and now I saw there's nowhere for this knight to go. If the knight goes here, we pin it and we win it in the next couple moves. If it goes here, I can just go here and check the king and win it. So these two moves don't work for the knight. Coming here, 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 and here, the bishop sees all four of them. So that's always really nice when your bishop's 2 square from the enemy knight. You kind of control all the squares it can jump to. So the only move that really works, these 3 don't work because I can just immediately capture, is this move here. And I saw if she goes here, I can double her pawns. Now, apparently it's not the best for me to double her pawns. The game's completely drawn, but I thought it was best. And actually in this position, I spent about 20 minutes looking for a move. And you can already see I moved king h3, which the engine says it's completely drawn. It doesn't change anything. But I thought it was the only sort of interesting way to maybe make something happen. But at the end of the day, it was just stupid. So let me show you what I was thinking, because this position was quite interesting. I thought maybe I can go here with my king, but then I saw they can play rook a3, attacking this, and if I come here, they can play a4, and I can't capture because the rook would be pinning my king. So they would actually end up winning this. So I thought maybe a rook a3, and I defend this way. Well, then they just bring the pawn up, and now they have 2 attackers on it. My king's sitting here, and things just looking really bad. They could take, rook takes, pawn takes, and my king is here, and I come here, and they just promote. So I would lose the game. So I really thought coming here, king f3 was not good. The next move that I considered was king f1, but I thought about f1 for a while. I thought, oh, f1 doesn't really seem to do all that much because they can just go rook b2, and I can never get onto this rank. It's going to take me forever to walk over to c1, and by the time I get there, they can just eat f2, and so this didn't seem appealing either. So I thought about moving the rook here and going after this, and maybe playing this, they take and I win the rook. Okay, sort of, maybe there's something, but at the end of the day, I just played this move, king h3, just to try to move my king around, maybe eat this, but maybe come over this way and get into the game. And they didn't take the pawn, which I was really surprised about. Melody just decided, I'm going to push and I'm going to get a draw because I know how to do that. So she pushed, I took, she took, I played f4, they went back, and here I'm trying to just get an advantage. These 3 pawns, my 3 pawns, it looks very drawn, but hers are doubled, so I thought maybe there's a chance. So we kept maneuvering around, and it was very awkward, and I was trying to see, is there somewhere I can get my rook so that my rook can get involved here, and maybe I can push this. They take, I take, they take, you know, I take, I don't know, something, but then there's a rook here, and I can't even push it anyway to even begin with. But yeah, a lot of maneuvering and trying my very best to figure a way to get in. And here we agreed to a draw. Both of us playing with a 94.6 accuracy for me and a 94.9 accuracy for her. She played fantastic chess. Yes, it was very drawish. Yes, we just traded off pieces, but she played really solid. There was only one moment in the entire game where I was slightly down, which was this moment here, right at the beginning, and she needed to find this capture the knight move. But then apart from this, there was only really one moment where I was slightly ahead, and I suppose it was right here. And you can see my only advantage is 0.30, not even a pawn advantage. So there was no advantage, no opportunity. There is a couple opportunities like slightly before this where like here, 0.48. But like it's very even, you know, going after this and trying to go here and then getting it here and maybe pushing here. It's completely different kind of game could have happened. But the game was completely even. She played fantastic. And I got a loss last week playing against her. Today I got a draw. So I was feeling a wee bit frustrated, but that was okay because we may be meeting her again later in this tournament. There was only 4 of us in the same section. So I will get to that game, game 4, which is an extremely exciting one. But before we got to game 4, we had one game 3. So check out what happened in game 3. This was game 3 against the wee boy named Bopu. He was from China. He was speaking Chinese with his dad right before the game. And yeah, he played the move e4. So I played the Caro-Kann. And in this position, my opponent made a slight mistake. They put their knight on f3. Looks very logical. But you just saw in the previous game with Melody, I played 80 moves of that game and I didn't have any chance to get an advantage. It was like a 95% accuracy game, you know? Neither of us really did anything the other person could take advantage of. But right now, already in the opening, I have an advantage. And I want to just say to you guys, if you're playing an over-the-board tournament and you got a lot of time, take your time in the opening. Like, don't rush the moves. If something is slightly offbeat, think about it. Because this might be the only opportunity you get to get ahead. So I take that pawn. It's not defended. I'm going to take it. They move their knight into the center. I pull my knight up. They play the bishop to c4. Bopu, Mr. Bopu is playing very sneaky, tricky chess. If I do something stupid like attack this, this is a checkmate in 1. The knight defends the bishop and the knight holds this square. So if the bishop gets here and checks my king, I can't go this way, I can't go this way, and I can't go here because my pawns or my own pieces are blocking me in. So I had to play the move e6, which is a move I really didn't want to play because now my bishop's stuck behind all my pawns. So Mr. Bopu had some good tricks, but we didn't fall for him. So he brought his bishop out. I defend with my knight. He brings his knight up. I defend with my bishop. He takes. I take. He takes. I take. He takes. I take his queen. He takes. I take his pawn. So we're still up 1 pawn. Huge exchange. I'm attacking the pawn here. Looking very nice. Looking very juicy. He moves his knight to check me. I move my king up. I could have taken him and swapped off more pieces, but I didn't really feel like I wanted to give up my bishop pair. A bishop pair is going to be stronger than a knight and a bishop if you can get into an endgame. However, he can already take the other bishop, so maybe I should have just taken the knight. I capture. He moves his pawn up to defend this pawn on b2. I bring my rook into the center because I want to control the open file. He castles to defend his rook with his other rook. So I decide to just start pushing pawns. I'm up a pawn. I know I have an advantage. I'm going to start pushing pawns at his king. He moves his rook into the center and attacks my bishop. So I got to deal with this threat. Always ask yourself, what is your opponent doing? Why did they do that? Okay, respond to it. So I just pull my bishop back. They play the move g3, which is a hook. So I take the rook off first, and then I push the pawn to attack this hook pawn. If he pushes, Then maybe I could even push and come here and attack it, or come here, here, here and attack it. And if this one tries to defend, I could maybe push this one and go after it. And also, my bishop's looking at this diagonal the whole time. So like coming here, maybe there's ideas of eventually taking the h2 pawn. I don't know. But it seems pretty good. They play their bishop back because maybe they're worried about me attacking it. I take. They take. I bring my rook up. They bring their rook up. And it's a 3v2 on this side of the board. Over on this side, everything's locked up. It's exactly identical. I play e5. And the reason this is probably an inaccuracy is because it allows his bishop to get a wee bit more active. I probably should have thought about that. Here he brings his rook over, and the way that I defend is I block with my bishop. And my bishop is on a slightly more active square here. This pawn is not protected. I've pinned this one. So I thought maybe there's some chance for me to come here and eat it. So he brings his rook back. Apparently this is a huge blunder, but I missed the move. I could have played, instead of playing g6, trying to defend my pawn, I could have gone here. I'll just show you the moves. I go here. They go b4. It's their only move. They can't come here to defend because the pawn takes, and both of my pieces are attacking this. They can't move this. If they want to move the king, then I just come in and take it. It would have been a beautiful pawn to win, but none of that happened. So after this, I play g6. They move over to attack my other pawn. I move my rook over thinking, okay, this one is pinned. He's not defending, so I can maybe eat it. They just push their king up. So playing very solid. He's playing really good. He's only got a 0.2 deficit, right? I'm not even up a full pawn, technically, according to the engine. But here I play f6. They bring their rook over to h4. I go h8. And here I was kicking myself. I thought this was really stupid of me. Because look at it. They take, I take. And this pawn is very weak. They can just go bishop here. And I can't push it because they're going to capture it. It's like, well, that was really dumb of me. I just lost my whole advantage. But they didn't do that. When I went here, they pulled their rook back. And I was like, whew, lucky me. Pulled my rook back to defend g6. They pull their bishop over to attack g6, so it's attacked twice. So I have to play the pawn up just to block the bishop from attacking this. And here, the rook is in big trouble. It can't come here. It can't come here, can't come here, can't come here. Can't stay where it is because of the pawns. And bringing it over here just doesn't seem all that great for him. So he goes forwards. Big blunder. Hope you can see the move. King f6, attacking the rook. He can't go back and he can't come here. But he can defend. So that's what he does. He defends with the pawn. So here I move my bishop in. Now, what I could have done is taken here, take here, and then tried to come in. Maybe. Or even come here and go here. But I felt like he could get out here. And I didn't really want to have to deal with him getting out. So I thought I'll bring my bishop in first. They bring their king in. I pull my bishop back to attack this pawn. They go forwards. And here I play the move. Pawn takes f4. Pawn takes f4. Bishop takes f4. Because I saw they can't recapture and defend this forever. Yes, they can recapture if they come here. But then I just go here. They can come this way. But then I can capture with the king and defend my rook. So I was very happy with finding this move. They actually take the pawn. I capture. They take the bishop. So from this, they lost the rook. But they did get a pawn and a bishop. So not the end of the world for them. But now I have a superior piece in an endgame. And I just maneuver my rook around. Here I put it here. And he can't come to here because of the pawn. He can't go back to these squares because of the rook. So his only move is here. And so I go here, skewering the bishop to the king. He moves his king. I take. And instead of worrying about his pawns, I just go in for the checkmate. Checkmate on h1. The king can't come forwards because my king is blocking him in. I was very happy to get this win. And now I'm going to show you the final game of the tournament against Melody. But before I do, just so you know, I played this game with an 86.8% accuracy. My opponent played with a 75.6. Let me show you game 4. The winner of this game takes all. They're going to be the big top dog of the tournament of our bracket. We were in the booster bracket. Sounds kind of silly, but yeah, I was playing among a bunch of kids. There was a little girl with a unicorn hat beside me. So it was definitely the booster section. But I'm trying to get out of the booster section. I'm trying to climb up to the big leagues with the big dogs. So have a look at what happens in game 4. This was game 4 of the tournament against Melody, and she got the white pieces this time. In the previous 3 over-the-board games that I've played against her, the classical over-the-board, or rapid, I guess this is technically, she beat me in the first time when I played the Jabava. She beat me in the Caro-Kann last week. I drew her in the English, and now is time, hopefully, for my victory. So we're going to see how I am able to perform with the Caro-Kann again, this time because she played e4. Last time I got a completely winning position against her with a Caro-Kann and blundered mate in 1, so I wasn't going to let it happen this time. I play c6, she plays d4, I play d5, and she goes for the advanced. The Botvinnik Karl's defense. She pulls her pawn up, I pull my knight into the center, knight out, bishop g4. She defends with this bishop move, defending her knight. And here I close off my pawn chain. She attacks me with h3. And here, last time I played her, I pulled back, forgetting that actually this pawn is going to be the big weakness in the Botvinnik Karl's defense. So this time I took her knight, she took back, I took her pawn, she took her pawn, and this pawn cannot be defended by another pawn. It's a backwards pawn. And so I knew that I could pressure this pawn. I just want to pile up pieces on this pawn. That is my whole goal this game. Get that pawn. I bring my knight out so that it can come to f5 to attack that pawn. She castles. I put my knight on f5 to attack the pawn. We got 2 pieces attacking. Apparently this is a mistake. I don't know why. Apparently I'm supposed to play b6, attacking this pawn and this pawn. It's a different way to attack it. But yeah, this is what we went for. She defends. I now go b6. I don't know why the order here mattered so much. Apparently it did. She goes queen d2. And here I see, well, I've got 1, 2, 3 attackers on this pawn. And she's only got 2 defenders. So I can take it. I take with the wrong knight, apparently. She recaptures. I recapture. She moved her bishop back. The reason that the engine doesn't like her recapturing here is because she's down a pawn. So don't trade off material when you're down a pawn. Also, she's got the bishop pair. Don't give me a knight and a bishop versus a knight and a bishop, especially when you're down a pawn. Keep your bishop pair. Bishop pairs together, the bishops, you know, they're way more powerful. And I think people need to remember that. So there was no need to trade off, especially here. Like, this piece is developed. Like, if you're trading off like for an undeveloped piece, let's say this piece could like actually attack it, then yeah, this would be a good trade. But like, this piece is developed, it's pinning the knight to the queen. Maybe you could get another piece in somehow and attack the pinned piece. I can't move this. There's ideas here, but yeah, trading off was just not the right idea. So I recaptured, and I could have recaptured with queen. This would have been better because it maybe forces queens off. It doesn't quite force queens off, but it does also attack this. So the queen's going to have to go to here or here. And then maybe I can take this pawn and then get the knight here. So things would be looking quite good for me. But I took with a knight. Bring the rook over to the open file. They bring their knight out. I pin the knight. They bring their rook over to defend that pinned piece. I castle because why not? They push e3. I take. They take. I move the knight, and here I see I am forking the queen and the rook. That is why this move was such a mistake. They pull over, I take, they take, and here I just move my rook behind my pass pawn. I'm going to push this one. I go here, they can't take because they're pinned to the queen. So they push the queen up. I move my queen over just to attack this piece twice. It can't be defended twice. They move over, I take, they take, I take, they take, I take, and they move their king, not letting any back rank threats of any kind happen. Here I'm also defending this pawn, so I am completely winning here. I'm up 4 points of material. I know I'm completely winning. And so I just start pushing my pawn. They move their bishop. And here, I do something really, really stupid. I don't know why I do it. I just thought, let's simplify things and make it simple. And I took her bishop. Now, the engine says this is the best move. And the engine's completely wrong. I'm going to say that right now. The engine's completely wrong. Like, look at this position. I'm up 4 points of material. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pawns, and they have 4. And we both have a rook, but I have a rook and she's got a bishop. I mean, I can just push this. There's nothing else I need to do. Just go here. What's she going to do? Pull over here? Just go here. What's she going to do? Probably come here. Just go here, stopping the bishop. When she pulls out of the way, push the pawn. She has to take. I take. Now she doesn't have a bishop and I got 2 rooks. That doesn't happen. I go here. She takes. And now I've just allowed the game to be, we both have a rook. I push. She goes back. I go f6 because I want to get my king closer. She takes. I take. They get their king closer. I push my a pawn. Why? Why don't I just push this one? Like, what am I thinking? Just push this one. They have to come here. And eventually the king's going to come over and get it. Yeah, okay. Then the rook's straight off. And I have an a pawn that can just promote. What am I doing? I push the a pawn. King in. Push the a pawn. Why? Now the king, when the king finally recaptures my rook here, they just go over here and they grab it. Like, this is just stupid of me to keep pushing this. King over. King up. King in. And now my pawn can't move at all. Rook up to defend both pawns. I'm like, I have to do this. Rook over. King up. Rook over. King in. Rook over to attack my a pawn. King in. I was very thankful that she allowed me to just keep moving in. Rook over. I move up to defend my rook, holding both the pawns. But like, this does not need to be this difficult. Like, I could have just promoted my pawn like 20 moves ago. Move my a pawn because I'm like, okay, now the king can't come over here and get it. The rook's going to have to come around and maybe then I can start eating these pawns. That's exactly what happens. And here I push e4. So I am protecting this pawn. They move up. And here I do the stupidest thing ever. I check. Why would I do this? Engine says it's the best move. Engine doesn't know what it's talking about because they counter check me. Now, what am I going to do? If I push the pawn, they take my rook. And now I have 4 pawns and they have a rook and a pawn. They're up 2 points of material. I push this pawn. It's the wrong one. Why did I not push this one? Like, this one makes way more sense to push because then when they take here, then I can move the king up here and I can promote. Or maybe not that. Maybe I just go here and defend my pawn and then finally get this one up and then push this one eventually. But like, whatever I'm doing, I don't know. I go f2. They take and I can't even push this. So what do? I move up so that I can push it. They check. They could have taken here and then promoted, but that would have been bad for them. So they check. I promote, they take, I take, they take. This game is way too close for comfort. What was I doing? King in, king in, king in, king in. Pawn up, king takes. It's a 1v1. Pawn up. If I took, I was starting to get worried because then the king gets really close. Yes, I probably could come here, but then they come here and then maybe my king can get out and they can't block me in. But if the king's like a square closer, like my king is getting blocked in here and my pawn can't promote because the king's in the way and they can never get out. Like, this is just bad. But thankfully, we're able to promote the pawn and I promote to a rook instead of a queen because I was worried about doing some stupid stalemate. And this is the longest mate you've ever seen, but I'll just play through it. because I know you will enjoy how bad this is. What? Okay, cool. Up. What? Why would I do that? We just have to go F5. Go F5. They can't come down. They can't go this way. They can't go this way. They have to go here, and then it's checkmate. But no, we don't do that. We go here instead. Finally, checkmate. I beat Melody after 80 moves in game 4. Because I got a victory against her, and because I got a victory against the other 2 people playing black, I got 3 victories with black and 1 draw with white in this tournament. I got a trophy, and it's sitting on the shelf behind this board. You can actually see it right there, lads. I'm going to go get it to show you. There it is, lads. There's the trophy, Unity, the Unity Chess Club, and we got our first ever first place trophy. Unity, it says Chess, Unity Chess, Unity Open, January 2025, booster first place. My first ever first place trophy. Whoop-de-whoop-de-doo. I was feeling pretty good about this. This is exciting. I got a big time trophy. This one's going up there, right there. It's going to be there for the whole world to see. You'll always remember that I came first in the booster section. Lads, I got another chess tournament coming out next week. Stay tuned. But after this tournament, I thought maybe I'll get over 1200. I went on to the USCF website the next day, and it was rating me at 1250. I went from 1119 to 1250 in one tournament. I was feeling pretty excited about that. And now, lads, I'm on the verge of getting up to 1300 over the board. And I know that sounds like not a big deal, but lads, over the board is insanely hard. You just saw a little girl play an 80 move game against me with 95% accuracy. Like, these chess tournaments are no joke. So getting to 1250, I'm pretty stoked. See you lads next week.